So I went through all my old podcasts just to see how much I've changed over the last few years. When I first started podcasting, it was around the time it was actually COVID lockdown had started, and when I look at those videos, I noticed that I was very puffy up, slow in my speech, and I wasn't confident as I am today. Since then, after exploring so many different topics and sticking to a reasonable mental and physical regime, I've seen results. I've seen results. I lost an awful lot of weight. It's amazing. Um, I've been able to look into so many strange and outlandish type topics that I'm pretty much confident talking about anything now at this stage, and making mistakes as well. I've made loads of mistakes in all my videos, and that's just it. These podcasts, they're not scripted. There's no chat GPT or anything like that. It's just me. um, so, what motivated me to do all this over the last few years? Well, like I said, it started around COVID, the lockdowns. I remember I was watching Oireachtas live, and there was a debate on about reinstating former ex-military and reservists in the defence forces to bring them back into the service so that we could do things like body bag detail and burial details. Now, thankfully, that never happened, but it did give me a shiver down the back of my back, a shiver down my back, because I always thought that that was it. I was finished in the reserves, and here they were trying to pull me back in. So I had to get fit again so that I could fit in my uniform at least. And on top of that, I wanted to be more than just a uniform. I wanted to have skills that would be relevant to that particular emergency. Thankfully, that never came. That never came to pass. Um, Another thing that motivated me at the time, it sounds very outlandish, but I applied to go to space on Spaceship One with a Japanese entrepreneur called Yusaku Musea, and he had a competition out to see why should I go to space. It was a great opportunity to explore the whole side of military enthusiast and take it what would be the ultimate expression of that, and in my mind it came to the idea of a military enthusiast movement where it would be a voluntary organization that shares and attacks its principles and values to that of the military and the security in that country, i.e., that being that we'd be training ourselves as army reservists or Garda reservists on the weekends, uh, getting relevant skills and getting everything that we need to keep the country secure and safe. And at the time, it sounded very outlandish, but to even just explore that whole idea, and it made me realize that yeah, it's something that is definitely on the books over the next 10, 15, 20 years. If it's inevitable that there will be some sort of voluntary movement towards the whole security side of things, um, because climate change is on the way, and we don't know what kind of national emergencies are yet to come. Um, so that motivated me to become a military enthusiast. Um, Another thing that motivated me over the time as well, of course, was the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It really, at the time, it sparked alarm bells in me, because the propaganda and the disinformation that was floating around in February 2022 at the time was that the Russians were going to just keep going. They were going to go straight through Poland, and they'd be in Paris by April. And thankfully, that didn't come to pass either. In my last couple of podcasts, I did a podcast on Russia, Putin's Russia. I did a podcast on China, Xi Jinping's China, and I also did the last podcast I did was one on America and globalization and the West. And it's given me a great sense of, I wouldn't say relief, I just say a feeling of a sense of security that it just doesn't make sense what's happening in Russia at the moment, and it doesn't make sense with the Chinese either on their invasion of Taiwan. Statistically, economically, and politically, it's just folly. It's just absolute folly. And uh, right now, the news from Ukraine is that Xi Jinping is due to meet with Vladimir Putin in the next couple of weeks. Xi is going to Moscow, which is very unusual. Um, the West has instructed Xi to take a hard tone with Mr. Putin and tell him to stop his antics. What I think is going to happen is, in typical Chinese diplomacy, Xi is going to visit Vladimir Putin. He is going to promise all sorts of weapons and military infrastructure. Terms and conditions apply, of course. He's not going to get a single weapon until at least 25, 26, 2027, when everybody in the world has fully realized that there's absolutely no way China is going to invade Taiwan. It's just pure folly. And China, Xi Jinping will save face because he is promising Putin weapons and infrastructure. But he's also holding the cards, and he's basically saying, well, he's not going to let Taiwan off the hook over the next couple of years. But it's a way of saving face as far as I can see. And again, it's just a weak gesture by the Chinese. They don't have the power to tell Putin what to do. As for Putin himself, the war isn't going too well for him. The spring offensive, the counteroffensive, is due in the next couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But it's going to be a turbulent time in Ukraine. But getting back to the whole idea of military enthusiast, it's given me a great sense of confidence to be able to go through all those, to share my ideas and experiences with yourselves. Going forward, I can't even think past next week. That's all I have to say. Take care. And after reviewing my review of the video, I just want to say, with what I was saying earlier on, that I have a calmer sense of security now. That where's the motivation going to come from next? And for me, military enthusiasm is about the fight, it's about the adventure, it's about the hunt. And so I'm just going to continue on fighting, adventuring, and hunting, but with not as much, not with the alarm bells ringing as such. That's all I have to say. Take care.